Stop right here. Don't scroll past this, because what you're about to hear may be the line between drifting through your days or finally taking command of them. Men and women alike, hear me. Happiness is not some prize at the finish line. It's the ground beneath your feet, and if you don't lay it down each morning, you'll feel like you're running, but never arriving. In this video, I'm going to take you through 7 powerful parts. Each one is designed not just to inspire, but to shift how you see yourself, your mornings, your pain, and your discipline. And when we reach the 3rd part, I'll share something unexpected, a gift that can change the way you start your days from that morning forward. Here's the truth. Too many people wait for happiness like it's a delivery package. But joy doesn't knock on your door. It's something you build, something you choose. And when you practice it daily, it becomes unshakable. Stay with me through these 7 parts, and you won't just hear the idea. You'll feel it anchor inside you like strength you forgot you had. Think of it this way. Most people are like houses built without a foundation. They decorate the walls, they polish the windows, but the first storm shakes everything loose. Happiness is that foundation. Without it, life will test you until you collapse. With it, even the hardest winds can't move you. Today, we start building the base, not with noise or confetti, but with something solid that lasts. And by the end, you'll not only have a map, you'll have tools you can use tomorrow morning before the world even touches you. So let me ask you, before we dive into part 1, if happiness really is the ground you stand on, what kind of surface have you been walking on lately? And are you ready to rebuild it, starting today? 1. Stop waiting for someday. How many times have you caught yourself whispering the same line, "I'll be happy when the job comes, when the wait is gone, when they finally see your worth"? We wrap our peace of mind in conditions and hang it on milestones that may never arrive. That small phrase, "someday," sounds harmless, but it's not. It's a thief. It teaches your mind one quiet rule, that joy is conditional, that you don't deserve it yet, that you have to prove yourself before you're allowed to breathe fully. And while you're waiting, life is slipping by. One morning after another, you stand in the waiting room of your own existence, staring at a door that never opens. I knew a man like this. Let's call him Daniel. He was brilliant, ambitious, the kind of person everyone thought had it figured out. First the degree, then the promotion, then the house. Every milestone came, and with each one he said, "Now I'll be happy." But each victory felt strangely hollow. By the time he had the life he thought he wanted, he had trained himself so long to delay joy that he no longer remembered how to feel it. He built a castle but forgot the sunlight. And the saddest part? No one else could give it back to him. Be honest, have you ever promised yourself, "I'll finally be happy when"? This is the lie of someday, that happiness is a prize at the end of struggle. But joy is not a trophy, it is fuel. Without it, success tastes like dust. Without it, even love feels incomplete. When you keep postponing joy, you are living with a glass of water always just out of reach. So close you can see it, but never close enough to drink. Think about your own life. How many times have you silenced a laugh because it wasn't the right time? How many times have you skipped moments with people you love because you thought you had to earn rest? We call this discipline, but it's not. It's self-denial dressed as responsibility, and it steals years. What if the opposite is true? What if happiness isn't the end result, but the foundation? What if it's the spark that makes every challenge easier to face? Imagine walking into work already centered. Imagine coming home not drained but anchored. That's not fantasy. That's the shift that happens when you stop waiting. The truth is, life will never line up into perfect silence. There will always be noise, unfinished tasks, scars that haven't healed. If you keep bargaining with happiness, saying, "Not now, not yet," you'll look up one day and realize decades have passed and joy never arrived, because it never does on its own. So start small. Find one action today that brings you back to yourself. Play the song that wakes your spirit. Take a walk without your phone. Say no to one thing that drains you, and yes to one thing that fills you. It doesn't need to be grand, it just needs to be yours. These tiny rebellions against someday are how you take your life back. Joy isn't waiting, it's created. And the moment you decide to practice it, even in small doses, you start to feel alive again. That's the secret no one tells you. Happiness doesn't come after everything is fixed. It comes when you choose it in the middle of the mess. So before we move on, I'll leave you with this. What joy have you been postponing, convincing yourself it belongs in the future? And if not today, then when will you finally be brave enough to claim it? 2. Discipline is the hidden engine of joy. Most people think happiness is supposed to be easy. They imagine it as sunlight breaking through the clouds, effortless, automatic. But let me tell you something few dare to admit. Happiness takes work. It takes discipline. The same way strength takes training. The same way peace takes boundaries. Look at your own life. How many hours each week do you pour into productivity? Deadlines, errands, favors you didn't want to do but said yes to anyway. You drag yourself out of bed at 5 a.m. for work, grind through exhaustion for your family, push your body to the limit just to meet expectations. And yet, when it comes to joy, you hesitate. 15 minutes of stillness, a walk outside, calling a friend, that suddenly feels selfish, unimportant, optional. Why, wow? Because we were taught discipline is only for work, never for well-being. But joy is a muscle, and like any muscle, if you don't train it, it weakens. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And that's exactly what discipline does. It frees you from being a prisoner of moods and teaches you to build joy on command. I remember a woman, Mia. She looked unbreakable from the outside. 2 jobs, kids well-fed, bills paid, everything in order. But inside, she was empty. She once confessed, "I don't even know what makes me happy anymore." That wasn't weakness. That was the cost of never training her joy, of giving everything to everyone else and nothing to herself. So let me ask you, if discipline can build muscles, why wouldn't it build joy too? Here's the paradox. You think happiness should be natural, but in a world addicted to noise, it isn't. Your brain is wired for stress, for survival, for scanning the horizon for what could go wrong. If you don't deliberately practice joy, your mind will default to chaos. That's why discipline matters. Discipline is what keeps you from falling back into the pit. So let me ask, why are you willing to train your body but not your spirit? Why do you schedule meetings but not laughter? Why do you set alarms for tasks but not for peace? Try this. Give yourself 15 intentional minutes a day. Just 15. Step outside and let the sun touch your skin. Put on music that moves your soul and dance in your kitchen. Sit with your coffee in silence and remind yourself, I am still here. It's not indulgence, it's maintenance. It's the oil in the engine, the thing that keeps you from breaking down on the road. Because here's the truth. Happiness isn't a luxury, it's fuel. And if you keep driving without it, you will burn out no matter how strong you think you are. Some days, discipline will mean forcing yourself to take that walk even when you'd rather collapse. Some days it will mean putting the phone down when your mind is itching to scroll. Some days it will mean smiling at your own reflection, not because you feel like it, but because you need to remind yourself you're still capable of light. That smile is not fake, it's fuel. Happiness is not a mood you stumble into. It is a structure you build with daily effort. The more you practice, the more natural it feels, until one day joy stops being something you chase and starts being who you are. So here's my challenge for you. If you're already disciplined enough to show up for your boss, your family, your deadlines, why not show up for yourself? Why not use that same discipline to build a life that feels worth living? And as we move forward, hold this question close. What would your days look like if you gave joy the same discipline you give to everything else? If this speaks to you, pause a second, drop a comment, or share this video with someone who needs a reminder. Every act of sharing is a reminder to yourself that joy matters. 3. Protect your mornings. Your first hour is sacred. It is the quiet forge where your entire day is shaped. Most people treat it carelessly, hitting snooze 3 times, grabbing the phone, scrolling through chaos before their feet even touch the ground. And then they wonder why the rest of the day feels heavy, scattered, out of control. But here's what most don't realize. When you first wake up, your brain is in alpha and theta states. That's a window of pure impressionability, like wet cement. Whatever you pour into it hardens into the tone of your day. If you flood it with comparison, noise, and urgency, don't be surprised when anxiety shadows you until night. If you feed it with clarity, gratitude, or even a single intentional breath, you've already set a different course. I've lived both sides. There was a time when I opened my eyes only to reach for the screen. Before I even brushed my teeth, the world had already invaded my head. Headlines of fear, images of perfection, endless notifications demanding something from me. By breakfast, my spirit was already hijacked. I wasn't leading my day, I was reacting to it. And half the time, the first thing I saw wasn't even important news. It was a cat video or someone arguing about pineapple on pizza. And yet, there went my peace. Then came the shift. I started asking one simple question before anything else. How do I want to feel today? Not what do I need to do, not what deadline is waiting, just how do I want to feel? Calm, strong, grateful, alive. That single word became the compass. When my mind tried to wander into chaos later, I came back to it. And little by little, my mornings stopped being battlefields. They became blueprints. Protecting your mornings is not about perfection. It's about ownership. It's about saying, before the world writes its script on my mind, I will write my own. So what does this look like in practice? Start small. Give yourself 60 seconds of silence before touching a screen. Breathe deeply. Choose a word. Whisper it to yourself. If you want strength, say strength. If you want peace, say peace. Let it settle like ink on fresh paper. Then let your first action align with it. Drink water slowly, open the blinds, stretch your arms toward the light. This isn't self-indulgence. This is architecture. You're building the frame of your day before the world throws bricks at it. And here's a deeper truth. If you don't protect your mornings, someone else will use them. Your attention is currency, and every app, every notification, every headline is begging to spend it for you. But your attention is not public property. It is private. Guard it like the lock on your front door. Joy is not found at the end of the day. Joy begins in the first hour, in the choices you make when your spirit is still soft, when your mind is still shaping. Own your mornings, own your state. So pause now and ask yourself, tomorrow morning when your eyes first open, will you hand your peace to the world? Or will you claim it as your own? And before we step into the next lesson, I want to hand you a gift, something rare, a tool to rewire your mornings before the world touches you. Think of it as 4 anchors, 4 lines to speak into yourself when the day is still fresh and your mind is wide open. Say them slowly, clearly, until they stop sounding like words and start sinking into your bones. Today I lead my mind. Nothing else commands me. I rise with strength, even if I wake in shadows. No storm outside me is stronger than the calm I build within. Happiness is not waiting. I create it here, now, today. Repeat them until they feel less like affirmations and more like oxygen. Let them set the tone before noise, before doubt, before anything else gets a chance to. 4. The Batman lesson. There's a reason Batman has lived in our culture for generations. He is not a god. He has no superhuman powers. What he has is discipline, focus, and a refusal to let pain become his prison. As a child, Bruce Wayne lost everything. That trauma could have broken him, left him bitter and powerless. And for a while it almost did. But instead of surrendering, he made a decision to shape his suffering into strength. Why does this matter for you and me? Because most of us are not waiting for capes or miracles. We are waiting for life to finally go easy. But life doesn't do easy. Life throws chaos, loss, betrayal, disappointment. And in those moments, you stand at the same crossroads Bruce Wayne did. Let your darkness consume you or forge something powerful from it. Here's the mistake many people make. They think discipline is just about productivity, just about grinding harder. But look closer. Discipline is what transforms raw pain into purpose. Without it, pain rots. With it, pain becomes fuel. Batman is not about gadgets or masks. He is about the choice to keep showing up, even when fear whispers you should quit. Think of your own nights, the silent ones when grief, anger, or regret tried to choke you. In those hours, happiness feels impossible. But what if those are the exact hours where discipline matters most? Seneca reminded us, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Batman's story proves this truth. His darkest hours became the training ground that shaped his strength. Smiling when it feels unnatural, breathing slowly when your mind races, standing tall when everything inside you wants to curl up and disappear. That isn't pretending, that is training. Training your soul the way Batman trained his body. And here's the paradox. Discipline doesn't make you less human, it makes you more. Because it allows you to hold both, the weight of your wounds and the fire of your will. Most people run from the shadows inside them, but those shadows, if faced, can become armor. In your daily life, this doesn't mean fighting crime at midnight. It means building small rituals of resilience, waking up and moving your body even when fatigue presses us down. Choosing honesty when a lie would be easier. Saying no to the habits that numb you. Each act of discipline is a brick, and brick by brick, you construct a self that storms cannot destroy. Here's a practice for you. Tonight or tomorrow, when you feel resistance, the urge to scroll, to avoid, to delay, pause and whisper to yourself, "This is my training ground." Then do the small act anyway. Push through the first 2 minutes. Discipline isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in these small, defiant choices. So let me leave you with this. When life shows you its darkness, will you let it define you? Or will you, like Batman, turn it into the very thing that protects you? 5. Happiness in hard times. There are mornings when happiness feels like a stranger. Not because you don't want it, but because life has weighed so heavy on your chest that even breathing feels like work. You open your eyes and the ache is already there. The loss you can't undo, the stress that never lets up, the disappointment that clings like smoke. And in those moments, joy doesn't feel like a choice, it feels impossible. But here's the radical truth. Those days are when happiness matters most. Because it's easy to smile when life is light. The real test is whether you can still reach for a spark when the room feels dark. I knew a woman once, let's call her Sarah. She was bright, always lifting until life blindsided her with a divorce and the sudden loss of her father. For months, she disappeared into silence. Yet every morning she forced herself to do one thing, just one. A glass of water, a short walk, a journal line. Some days it felt pointless. But over time, those pointless sessions became the bridge back to herself. They didn't erase the grief, but they proved something greater. That she could still move, still breathe, still live. That is the lesson. When happiness feels farthest, it doesn't need to be grand. It just needs to be something. One step, one breath, one gesture of defiance against despair. Science even backs this up. Psychologists call it behavioral activation. The idea that even small, positive actions can shift brain chemistry, nudging the mind toward healing. In other words, you don't wait to feel better before acting. You act, and slowly, you begin to feel better. So what does this mean for you? It means courage on hard days isn't about pretending everything's fine. It's about choosing one thing. Drinking water, standing in sunlight, sending a text to someone who cares, writing down 3 words of gratitude, even if they feel hollow. That one act is not weakness, it's rebellion. It's proof you are not staying down. And here's the paradox. You can hold both. You can grieve and still reach for peace. You can be tired and still move toward light. You can feel broken and still practice joy. Life is not either or, it's both and. That's what makes you human, and that's what makes you strong. So on those mornings when happiness feels unreachable, don't wait for a miracle. Create a spark. Let the spark remind you that you're still here, still capable, still becoming. Ask yourself now, when the weight presses hardest, what is the one small act you can choose? Not to fix everything, but to prove you haven't given up. If you've ever had a season like this, let me know below. Your story might be the encouragement someone else desperately needs today. 6. Stop feeding the enemies of joy. Most people imagine their happiness gets stolen in dramatic ways, by tragedy, betrayal, or loss. But in reality, joy usually dies slowly, drained by small, invisible enemies you keep feeding every single day. The first enemy is comparison. You wake up, reach for your phone, and before your feet even touch the ground, you're already measuring your life against someone else's highlight reel. Their smile, their success, their staged perfection. Even if you know it's curated, your gut whispers, you're behind. And just like that, the joy you had shrinks. Then comes doom scrolling. You're not even comparing anymore, just looking for distraction. But what floods in? Panic, outrage, endless noise. And the first hour of your day poisoned with someone else's chaos. And let's be honest, half the time it's not even world news stealing your peace. It's a meme about cats and sunglasses or some stranger arguing about pizza toppings. And yet, somehow there goes your mood. Another thief is guilt, the quiet voice telling you rest is laziness, that you're never doing enough, that joy has to be earned. So you overwork, overpromise, oversacrifice, and still never feel worthy of peace. Overthinking joins the attack. It masquerades as intelligence, but it's really just replaying old conversations and rehearsing disasters that may never come. The more you think, the less you feel. And without feeling, joy has no soil to grow in. And finally, neglect. Not dramatic, just quiet self-betrayals, skipping meals, pushing through exhaustion, ignoring your body, saying yes when your soul is screaming no. Over time, neglect sends the cruelest message. You don't matter. And nothing kills happiness faster than believing that lie. Here's a new way to see it. Your mind is a garden. Joy is the flower. The enemies, they're weeds. Comparison, guilt, overthinking, neglect. Every time you feed them, they spread. Every time you starve them, your joy gets space to breathe. The garden doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs you to guard it. So how do you fight back? Start small. Protect your mornings. Don't let comparison be the first voice you hear. Set boundaries. Say no to the people, apps, or routines that drain you. And above all, notice. The simple act of naming your enemy already weakens its grip. Because here's the truth. If you don't protect your happiness, the world will spend it for you. Piece by piece, notification by notification. Until one day you look up and realize you have been robbed, not by force, but by habit. So I'll leave you with this. Which enemy have you been feeding? And are you ready, starting today, to starve it? 7. The gratitude habit. Gratitude doesn't belong to just one moment of your day. If you lock it into a quick morning ritual, you'll miss its real power. Gratitude is not a single spark. It's the thread that can weave strength through every hour you live. I used to think gratitude was only for mornings. 3 breaths, 3 thanks, then get on with the grind. But life doesn't only test you in the morning, does it? Stress shows up at noon, arguments arrive at night, loneliness sneaks in at unexpected hours. If gratitude doesn't travel with you, the noise of life will swallow it before lunch. So I began to practice gratitude at 3 checkpoints. Morning to set my tone, midday to reset my focus, evening to release the weight before I sleep. At noon, when I was buried in tasks at the workshop, I'd pause 10 seconds, look at my rough hands, and whisper, "Thank you that these hands can still create." At night, before I collapsed into bed, I'd remember one simple detail, like the way the sun hit the wood that afternoon, and I'd let that be enough. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive." But if he were alive today, I believe he'd tell us the same at midday, at dusk, at every chance we get. Because gratitude isn't tied to clocks. It's tied to awareness. And here's the paradox. Gratitude doesn't erase pain, but it prevents pain from owning you. When you're grateful, you still feel the storm, but you're no longer drowning. You're anchored. So try this. 3 checkpoints. When you wake, name 3 small things. At lunch, stop for 10 seconds and notice one gift hiding in plain sight. At night, write down one thing that kept you going, no matter how small. Do it until it stops feeling like an exercise and starts feeling like oxygen. Because gratitude is not a performance. It's not pretending life is perfect. It's choosing, again and again, to notice that even in chaos, something is still holding you. And when you notice it, you grow roots that storms cannot pull out. So I'll ask you this. Tomorrow, when stress hits you at noon or silence greets you at midnight, will you let the moment consume you, or will you pause, breathe, and say thank you? The choice is always yours. We've walked through 7 lessons together, from breaking the lie of someday, to guarding your mornings, to finding strength in shadows, to practicing gratitude like a daily discipline. None of these lessons are about pretending life is easy. They are about remembering this truth. You are never powerless. You always have a choice. The world will tell you to wait. Wait until the storm passes. Wait until someone saves you. Wait until you feel ready. But waiting is the slowest form of surrender. Life doesn't wait, and happiness doesn't wait. Every sunrise is asking you one question. What will you choose today? Remember, no storm outside you is stronger than the calm you can build within. No failure, no betrayal, no delay has the right to steal your inner authority unless you hand it over. And handing it over is no longer an option for you. Not after hearing this. I know some of you are listening with heavy hearts, carrying weights no one else sees. And maybe you're thinking, it's not that simple. You were right, it's not easy. But simple doesn't mean easy, it means possible. And possible is enough to begin. So start with one choice, one small defiant act. Wake up and whisper strength into your soul. Walk outside even if the sky is gray. Say no to what drains you. Say yes to what breathes life back into you. That's not selfish. That's survival. That's sovereignty. And here's what I promise you. If you do this, if you practice it not once but daily, you'll look back one day and realize happiness was never something you were chasing. It was something you were building, brick by brick, thought by thought, morning by morning. This is not the end of the journey. This is the invitation. An invitation to stop living as a victim of moods, mistakes, and moments, and start living as the builder of your own state, your own peace, your own fire. Silence at dawn is not empty. It's a command waiting for you to answer. So I leave you with this question, the one that will decide everything. Tomorrow morning, when your eyes first open, will you surrender to the noise, or will you rise and claim the day as yours? The choice is always yours, and the time is not someday. It is now.